Welcome back. We're chatting to Rita Cool, who's a financial advisor, and Jenny Gordon, who's head of retail legal support at Alexander Forbes. Both ladies with that financial services company, talking about female investment. But if you're a male, you should actually be watching as well, because there's a few little things you may get a heads up on here. Rita, let's go back to you now. The building blocks. Let's start laying the foundation for a decent financial plan from a female's point of view. Okay. We've already discussed where we've come from. How should we be going forward?
You need to look at two sides of your planning. So there's going to be a wealth creation side and there's going to be a wealth protection side.
Right.
And the wealth protection would be your death and your disability cover, funeral cover if you find there's a need for that, and the wealth creation is for saving for short term, medium term and long term. And you have to then set your goals, because most of us plan our December holidays in more detail than we plan the rest of our lives. And then once you find out what you would like to do, now you obviously have to find money to do that. And the only way that you're going to find money and know where your money is going is to do a proper budget. And then with the budget, you first have to identify what is coming in. So is it just salary, is it interest, is it rental income? And then thereafter you say, good, what are the things that I have to pay? So if I do not pay my bond, they're going to take the house away. If I do not pay this, then they're going to take the car away. So those are the must-haves. And then you've got the flexible. So how much electricity do you use this month? How much water did you use? How much food did you buy? And those things you can do something about. And then once you've done a budget, you can identify shortfalls and you can find extra money. And hopefully you can then apply that extra money to either help you with wealth creation or assist in any gaps if you have with wealth protection.
Okay, so budget. There's the first point that we need to raise, is do your budget, see what you've got and see what's disposable and can be used for investment. Once you've got that disposable 150 Rand, let's say, what do you then do with that 150 Rand? Where do you start employing that to generate you wealth going forward?
You know, we have to differentiate between, therefore, say, people in employment, people out of employment. We also need to look at prioritizing, whether one should then, if it's the 150 Rand, actually use that towards savings, or whether one should be using it towards risk protection. Now, naturally, with 150 Rand, it's not going to go very far, because one has a whole lot of competing priorities. So one needs to look at, in that balanced financial plan, okay, say your 150 Rand, I have got a retirement fund, so that's maybe taking care of some of my retirement, but what I don't have is maybe a dread disease policy. And this is something that I would like women to focus on, because, once upon a time, we didn't worry about dread diseases, okay, because people didn't live past 50, 60. Nowadays, we know that life expectancies are growing. And the average, middle class South African will live way into their 70s or 80s. And the likelihood of suffering one of the dread diseases, like stroke, cancer, heart attack, okay, is actually very likely. Now, once upon a time, if one suffered one of those dread diseases, one didn't live, one died. But now with modern technology, medical technology, one will suffer the disease and one will live. But how will one live? Now, we might have medical aid which will cater to the direct medical expenses.
But after you go out of hospital,
out of your hospital, you might have to slow down, you might have to do some adjustments to your lifestyle, adjustments to your home. And so there's not even really a possibility, there's a probability, okay, that one will need and actually cash in on one's dread disease policy. So I'm a very big advocate of women having a dread disease policy to take care of that. So that's
having mentioned the dread disease word, wills must obviously be an important aspect of this as well.
Yes, very important. It's one of the things people would like to think of even less than thinking of money.
Yeah, it's not a lekker thing to do.
It's never going to happen to me, but unfortunately it is the one thing I can guarantee you, you're going to pass away.
Death and taxes.
Death and taxes, yes. Yeah. Taxes you can't do that much about, but death you can do something about. And you can definitely help your family by setting up a will. If you don't have a will and you've got family members, your estate is dealt with in the Intestate Succession Act. And members, so there is a way to distribute the money, but it might not be the way that you wanted that money to be distributed. So a wife with children, those children have an equal right than with the mother to inherit money. And those children might say, well, sorry mom, but I actually want the cash out and I'm going to ask you to sell the house that you're staying in because there are no other assets in the estate to pay me out the cash. So it's all fine and well if you pass away, let the family deal with this, but if somebody in your family passes away, you will be the person who will have to deal with that, and you will be in a position where you will have so many admin issues, you might not be in a position to properly mourn because you've got just so many things to deal with.
Having raised the C word, yeah, children, it does lead on to another thing that we maybe need to touch on very briefly, and that's things like education policies, and also, just a thought here, if you're a female, even if you are working, but you're not the major breadwinner, is there not a gap here to take out insurance on your husband?
Okay. Now, again, I'm a very big proponent of that. I think that often we rely on our spouses to take care of the life cover needs. Okay, but you know what? Life is sometimes tough, and sometimes one has financial stresses. And what actually happens that during those financial stresses is sometimes the husband allows the life policies to lapse. We often see that. And then in times of a crisis, the family are left with nothing. Okay, I really genuinely believe that if a woman has just in the budgeting can find a couple of $100 to actually take out some life cover on her husband's life, okay, then she's in complete control. She's paying the premiums, she knows that the policy is intact, and in the case of a life crisis such as, in the case of death, the policy pays out. No one can take that away from her. Whereas often you find that life policies of husbands are ceded to creditors. One thinks their life policy is in place, but in actual fact, the creditors get it instead of the family. To me, that is real protection. I mean, when you think about it, life cover is actually one of the wonders of the modern world. Okay, and I really don't think that women are taking advantage of it. And another thing about life cover and all the risk cover policies is that the younger you take these policies out, the cheaper it is. So the time is not to wait until one's spouse is in 40s, 50s, 60s. The time is when you get married. When you get married, start thinking about these things. That's the time when the husband and wife team that you talked about then goes to a financial advisor and says, this is the way we're married, this is what we want to plan for the future, we intend having children, we want to put a deposit down for a house, we want to education policies, we want to make sure that our family is protected. And that's when the financial advisor starts putting the building blocks in place. And then you have your annual financial checkup and you say, right, how are we doing? Okay, and he says, well, we need to tweak this, we need to tweak that. You've got a little bit more disposable income. Right,
let's
where's
do this
the gap?
with it. Yeah.
And that's really what we would like to see happen.
We're fast running out of time. We've got about 60 seconds left. So, Rita, I'm going to leave the last bit to you. The last bit of advice on this. We've dealt with the wills and the education and budgeting and all the rest of it. What's your last little gem of advice that you're going to toss out there?
You can do it. Women are very powerful and you are responsible for your own life and you can create your own financial future just the way that you want to do it.
And that means you're also creating your own lifestyle.
Yes.
That you would like to have.
Yes, you're in charge.
Yeah.
As always.
Whoopsie. Okay, right. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us. It's been
Thank you,
fascinating
Jeremy.
talking to you and finding out how the other species thinks when it comes to investments. That's all the time. That's all we have time for. I'm even out of words. I've been talked into a corner by the two females. Remember, if you have any comments, queries or suggestions, you can email us at moneysense@abn360.com. Until next week, from me and the team, goodbye.